Hi there, and welcome back to this mini-series in which we are looking at how past life experiences, trauma, abuse, other types of adversity have impacted our self-esteem, our self-confidence, our self-belief in adulthood. So today we're going to be looking at emotional abuse, sometimes referred to as psychological abuse. There are a couple of crossovers with verbal abuse, which we looked at in more detail in the last video. I'll pop the link to that video down below, so if you're interested in a deeper dive into verbal abuse, you can catch that video through that link. So, as I said, emotional abuse is sometimes referred to as psychological abuse. It can also be referred to as narcissistic abuse when that abuse is delivered by a narcissist, a covert or an overt narcissist. The impact of emotional abuse can be short-term, but more often than not, it's long-term. It has long-term impacts on both our physical and our mental health and well-being. And the direct impact of being on the receiving end of emotional abuse may mean that there are strong, intense feelings of shame, of guilt, of powerlessness, confusion, all sorts of strong emotional reactions to the actions or words, sometimes not even spoken words but insinuated, of another person. All of those things constitute emotional abuse. This video is going to focus on emotional abuse as it can happen to us in adulthood. We're going to look at this type of abuse happening in the workplace between a business partner, for example, but also in your personal life. See what resonates with you. Feel free to share any comments or questions down below. And if you recognize yourself in any of these scenarios and would like to work with a professional to heal those wounds resulting from abuse, my contact details are below. I offer a free 30-minute consultation, and I'd love to have a chat to see if we're a good fit and could work together. So in the meantime, let's get on. Okay, so we're starting off with a look at criticism. Constant criticism and belittling behaviour can really cause a toxic work environment. If a business partner, for example, belittles you in front of your clients, your suppliers, maybe employees, then this can really impact on the atmosphere in your workplace and can obviously create problems between you and your business partner, making it a much less effective partnership. This sort of behaviour can really undermine your authority and undermine your confidence in your own abilities, in your own decisions. In a personal setting, this is obviously a behaviour that will impact on your relationship with your partner. If your partner is constantly nitpicking, constantly looking out for all the things that you are doing wrong and either feeding back to you or shaming you or attempting to shame you in public, then this is creating a toxic personal relationship. If you can, then in both scenarios, you need to take that person to one side and explain your concerns, explain the impact it's having on you, on your business, on your family, whatever is relevant. If this person is a narcissist, then it's not going to be very effective. They will use some of the emotional abusive techniques that we're going to look at in a few minutes to take control of the situation and to make it virtually impossible to improve on. So if that is the case and you suspect that you're dealing with a narcissist, then I have done some other videos on narcissists and have put some advice in there for you to extract yourself from that relationship or protect yourself within that relationship. So go back and take a look at those videos if that is the case, because you are not going to be able to have a reasonable discussion with them about your issues and your unhappiness at their emotional abuse. They are not going to change. So you are going to have to be very tactical and find ways of dealing with that or removing yourself from that situation. So, as I said, we talked in depth about verbal abuse in last week's video, but verbal insults and name calling is another form of emotional abuse. And if you have somebody in the workplace, again, this may be a business partner, it could be somebody else who constantly resorts to name calling and insulting you, either in a one-to-one setting or in front of other people, then this is something that is clearly not acceptable, even if it is disguised as a jokey sort of approach. It's not professional and it's not acceptable. And it certainly isn't acceptable either in a personal relationship. So if you are experiencing this sort of emotional abuse, then the first thing to do would be to take that person to one side and to let them know that you're not happy about this, that it is undermining your authority, that it is impacting on how you feel, it's upsetting and it's not acceptable, and you're not going to put up with this sort of behaviour. And you need to put some boundaries in place, make it absolutely clear to the person who is doing the insulting that you are not going to tolerate this sort of behaviour, and put some consequences in place. So if they continue to name call or insult you, then you will just be clear and say, okay, this meeting is over. We'll resume when you can communicate with me in a professional manner. If this is a personal relationship, then again, get those boundaries in place and refuse to continue a conversation if the person is resorting to this sort of behaviour, the verbal insults. Next, we're going to look at manipulation and gaslighting. You may be familiar with the term gaslighting, and it is very often associated with narcissistic abuse. And it is the deliberate manipulation of conversations or facts that twist what was actually done or what was said to make you doubt that what you remembered happening, being said or being done really did happen. So it could be outright denial, just saying, well, no, I didn't say that, or no, that didn't happen, you're remembering it wrong. But it's delivered in such a convincing way that you actually do start to doubt yourself, because the other person is quite categorically clear that it happened as they say it happened. So this kind of plays on your emotions, makes you doubt yourself, reduces your confidence and your self-belief, and can then put you on the back foot the next time you have a conversation. And if this is repeated behaviour, then you are going to consistently doubt yourself more and more, until at some point there is a light bulb moment for you and you realise that actually, no, you you are right and this person has been manipulating you emotionally, gaslighting you, trying to make you believe that you're losing touch with reality. Again, if this behaviour is being delivered, if you like, by a narcissist, it is highly unlikely that you are going to be able to fundamentally change this behaviour. So you are going to have to adapt how you deal with it. You are going to have to find ways of distancing yourself from this behaviour. And if it is a relationship where you have regular contact, then you may need to look at an exit strategy to get out of that relationship, or to alter your business partnership arrangements so that you are protected, because this gaslighting, this manipulation is not going to diminish moving forward if you are dealing with a narcissist. Giving somebody the silent treatment and withholding help, support, or in terms of personal relationships, withholding affection, are emotional abusive devices. So if you disagree with your business partner, they may just not talk to you, stop talking to you, and refuse or just not offer to support you in the usual ways that you have been used to in your business. And in your personal relationships, this can be a complete withdrawal of affection, maybe behaviour that is like a child sulking. But again, this quite often has the effect on you as wondering what you have done that is so wrong. So it's quite closely linked to gaslighting behaviour. And it's a call for you to put boundaries in place, to remind yourself that you haven't done anything wrong, or if you have, then you take action to put it right, but that you didn't deliberately set out to cause harm to your business partner or to your spouse or whatever. And once you've taken steps to remedy anything that you know you have done, if you have crossed a boundary, crossed a line, then you have to draw a line, remind yourself that you've done what you can to repair, and you are going to have to leave that response, that silent treatment behaviour with that person, because that is their stuff to deal with. They have perhaps triggered themselves, and that is not your responsibility to reach in and try and help them work through that. You can support them, of course, but they need to find their way. And if they have been trying to project their own fears, experiences and baggage on you, then that's not acceptable. So create a shield for yourself and know that on the outside of the shield, their stuff will remain. It won't penetrate into your personal, private space. So trust that if they're able to, they will deal with it, but know that you are protected and it's not your responsibility to take on their stuff. So if they want to be silent, leave them to it. Next up, we have a constant blaming behaviour and guilt tripping, and the inability or refusal of the abuser to take responsibility for anything. So in your business or in your personal life, if you are constantly being blamed and held responsible for everything, every little mistake, every big thing that goes wrong, then first port of call, attempt to have a conversation. But this is again another typical sort of behaviour that we find in narcissistic relationships. And part of being a narcissist means complete self-exoneration from responsibility. They are not going to take responsibility for anything, and again projecting stuff rather than trying to deal with it. They are completely incapable and unwilling to deal with it, so they will try and put it onto you. So using the tips that I gave in the previous point, creating a shield for yourself, setting boundaries, and remembering that is not yours to take on. And it is very, very rare that something going wrong is the responsibility of one individual person. Sometimes, of course, we all make mistakes, but if you are constantly being blamed and held responsible, then it's not acceptable. Time to work on your boundaries, protect yourself, and keep a distance between the words and the behaviours of this person, and you know in your heart of hearts that you do not deserve to take on that blame or responsibility. Isolation and control are yet another set of emotional abuse tactics. So you may find yourself isolated because the abuser has used some of the previously cited techniques to ostracize you, to turn other people in your business or in your family or in your friendship group against you, using all those different manipulative techniques. The control happens when a person makes a decision without consulting you. They take control maybe of a certain area in the business, or take control of a bank account, of the finances, and exclude you from being able to take control yourself or have shared control. In your personal relationships, then that can be the same. That can be in your finances. You might find that your partner or spouse have taken control of a bank account and are refusing to let you have access, and it's not a joint account. So again, have that conversation. See if you can make any headway from just making it clear that it's not acceptable. You're not going to put up with it. If it's a business setting, then hopefully you have got some business contracts in place. You can consult with a lawyer and find out where you stand. If it's at home, then again, you can still seek legal advice if that initial conversation is not getting a fair outcome for you, and is not reducing the isolation or the control that you're experiencing. Lastly, today we're looking at intimidation and threats as another type of emotional abuse. Now, these can take various forms, and intimidation can be verbal, can be spoken, but it can also be unspoken. It can take place both in the workplace and at home, and somebody can use one or more of their own attributes to intimidate you without actually saying anything. So if you have somebody who's quite tall and maybe quite large, then just by getting up very close when they're talking and letting you feel their physical presence and their potential physical dominance, that can be a form of intimidation. So it can be something that somebody says to make it clear that they're not happy with what you're doing, and they want you to say the same as they are saying, to agree with them. But it can be unspoken, and of course again, in a personal relationship, that can equally happen. So threats are the verbalization, I guess, of intimidation, and you might find that if you've got a crucial meeting negotiating with potential investors, that your business partner will threaten to leave the partnership or leave the company at a crucial moment if you don't vote their way, if you don't agree with their plan of dealing with this, leaving you with very little option. And at home, this can happen. Somebody, your partner, your spouse, can say, right, well, if you don't do what I say, then I'm going to leave, or I'm going to force you to leave, and I'm going to keep all the assets, and I'll make sure that you don't get anything. There are many ways that can happen, but the resulting effect on you is that you feel very uncertain, you feel very vulnerable. Again, the impact on your self-belief and your self-confidence can be tremendous. So you will need to really dig deep into your existing confidence and to do what you can to stand up to them, because this behaviour is bullying behaviour, and again, it's abusive, it's not acceptable. So if you don't feel strong enough to stand up to them, if it's in your business setting, then again, go and consult with a lawyer, see if you can get some legal support with whatever is going on. And if it's at home, then confide in a trusted friend or colleague and see what advice other people can come up with. And if the threats and the intimidation are serious or ongoing, then you may need to consult with a lawyer as well to get the right support in place. So I hope that you found this video useful. If any of these instances of emotional abuse resonated with you, then try using the various tips and techniques that I've suggested as we looked at each one. Again, if you feel that you would like to do this with the support of a registered therapist, then get in touch with me through the details below. If you have any questions or any suggestions for future topics, then also pop those below. I'd love to hear them, and we'll try to incorporate them in future videos. So until next time, take great care of yourself. Thanks for watching.